Electric guitar tips for beginners. You know, I get a lot of calls and a lot of questions about electric guitar because, you know, if you play a lot of acoustic guitar and you switch over to electric, or if you start out on electric, there's a lot of things about the electric guitar that, you know, kind of mystify people. My name's Jimmy Dillon. I'm a lifetime musician. I've been playing electric and acoustic my whole life. And I just wanted to kind of share a couple of little tips, electric guitar tips for beginners for you. So first of all, when you're playing an electric guitar, you may have noticed it's probably a lot easier to play in some ways, at least to press down the strings, as an acoustic guitar. But the problem with that sometimes is if you are used to playing acoustic and you switch to an electric with lighter strings and lower action, you might tend to overpress on some of the chords and things, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. But my point is that it's a much lighter touch on electric guitar. Even when you let the electric guitar work for you, I can pick a lot softer and get a lot of expression out of it. I'm barely touching the strings. Now, where that also applies for beginners, under tips for beginners, if you're used to playing, you know, kind of more of an acoustic kind of stuff, that's fine, and you probably have some strength in your fingers from playing acoustic, and I often recommend that. But when you're playing chords on electric guitar, especially bar chords, sometimes people will tend to overpress a little bit, and it ends up sounding, instead of sounding like that, they'll end up over-fretting. And I taught a lot of kids over the years, and sometimes, especially beginners, they'll over-fret, especially on the bass strings, and it'll bend it out of tune. Instead of being, they'll bend it down too hard. We've all heard that before, right? So my point is that when you're playing an electric guitar, be super mindful and kind of aware that when you fret, you have to fret exactly so that it's right over the middle of the fret. And be aware, be conscious of the way you're pressing down on the strings. Don't overpress, or it's going to sound like this. So that's one thing about electric guitar. Bend it out of tune. The other thing is the right hand. If you're used to, you know, strumming acoustic, that works fine for acoustic guitar. But an electric guitar, you have to be aware of your right hand, whether you're using a pick or not, that your attack should be really kind of filtered through the fact that you're hitting lighter strings and you've got a very powerful instrument that's loud and can get away from you if you're not careful. So being aware of where your volume is, and we'll get into volume and tone later, but I talk about the 4 T's: touch, tone, time, and taste. They especially apply for electric guitar, because how you attack the string is going to make such a huge difference on an electric. It does on acoustic as well, but even more on electric. Now watch what I'm going to say here. I'm going to go ahead and go into a bass pickup and do kind of more of a jazzy, kind of real soft, sort of so you see how I'm kind of hitting over here and lightly touching the strings. You get a lot without hitting very hard. On the other hand, if I want to go to more of a, and I play down by the bridge, listen to the difference from this, from a, you know, almost jazzy, to a more magic you can get from electric can also get away from you if you're not conscious of the way you're striking the strings, which would be touch, and the tone you get to it from striking in a certain way. Again, Hendrix was really good at that. He would play in the neck pickup and another handy trick to know about is the muting technique. This applies, of course, to acoustic guitar as well, but really applies with electric guitar, because if you're playing a rhythm like this, little simple, like a blues lick, sounds okay, sounds good. Fine, sounds good. But what's really cool is when you can dynamically change that up by muting with your palm of your right hand. This is, again, back to right hand technique for, beginners of electric guitar, tips for beginners of electric guitar. You need this stuff when you're first starting to play as a beginner especially. So what you can do is, if you take the palm of your hand and be aware of lying it across the string like this, listen to the difference between this. Sounds good, it's wide open. There's a fair amount of sonic noise though around that. Now watch what happens when I lay my palm on here and I tighten down on it. So as a beginning guitarist, needing tips, I needed tips like this when I was a beginning electric guitarist. It's really important to know that an electric, as magical as it is and as much fun as it is, and as diversified as it is in terms of the sounds you can get from it, it also can get away from you if you're not careful and if you're not aware of how to do these things. So taming this beast is a lifetime job. Any electric guitar player will tell you. You'll notice when you see guys playing, like even a blues guy, they're always messing with their volume and their tone. Well, the reason is, to get variation out of the guitar, you switch pickups. Bassy tone. Now let's get some. Hear how bright that is? So that's some tips for beginners on electric guitar, and I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you down the road.
My friend Jimmy has the coolest guitar lessons. Go to jimmydillon.com/free and get all your amazing gifts. He's the best. Roll, rock and roll. Stay awesome and rock and roll.